All of us reach a point in time where we are depleted and need to somehow find a way to reignite the fire within. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience, where we will venture into the heart of the human spirit. We'll discuss the art of reigniting our passion and strategies to stoke our enthusiasm. And now, here are your hosts, Natalie Davis and Pamela Cass.
I'm really nervous.
Welcome to another episode of Reignite Resilience. I am your co-host, Natalie Davis, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you today. And joining me is your co-host, Pam Cass. Hello, Pam. How are you?
I am fantastic. Not only is it a Friday, but it's a Friday getting to not only record a podcast, but also have an incredible guest. And
Yes.
it's been a great week. I'll share with the listeners. So I had one of my neighbors click a picture of our book that she ordered on Amazon, and she read it because it's a fairly quick, easy read. She read it and told me that she's ordered a whole bunch of copies to give as gifts to people.
That is awesome.
So
I
think
love
that
that.
is
Yes.
very cool.
It is. Oh my gosh. We're going to continue to give updates as that progresses. And if you all
Yeah.
have not had a chance to go over to Amazon and pick up the book, click the link in the show notes. We will make sure that you can get directly over there, get your copy. Or if you want it as an ebook, download it to your e-reading device. I don't do ebooks, so I'm not sure what those Kindles, I think, are still a thing.
Kindles. I did Kindles until the
Okay.
time I was lying in bed reading it, and I was holding it above my head, and I must have fallen asleep and I dropped the Kindle on my face. That hurts a lot more than dropping a book on your face. So I no longer use a Kindle.
Yeah, that's out. Done. Exactly. Know your limits.
Know my limit. So yeah, this is what happens.
Well, it is an exciting time for Reignite Resilience. We're excited to have this first book launch in the Red Journal series. So go and pick it up, definitely. And I'm glad that you're getting these messages as well. I've had a couple of people reach out to me that have wrapped up the book over the past weekend, and
Yeah.
lots of positive feedback. A lot of the reflection in the book. So not giving too much away. Those reflective questions for individual to just kind of ponder. I mean, you don't have to have dyslexia to relate to the story and where you are in your own experiences of
Mhm.
not being seen or not feeling like you belong and things of that nature. So check it out. I'm excited. I'm glad that people are enjoying it. This is
Yeah,
fun.
I did. I had someone ask me if I would take the journal prompts and put them like on a poster to have so that they could put it in their office or whatever. And I was like, well, it's going to be in the red journal that we create. So
Yes.
you'll be able to take the journal and answer those questions.
And answer the questions. Exactly. And I was also going to say, hey, Rebecca, we're probably going to call you. Rebecca takes care of all of our fabulous marketing for
Yes,
us
she does.
behind the scenes. So
Yes, she
that is definitely something that we could do as an infographic as well. I think
does. We
that's a great
totally
idea.
could. I
Love
love
it.
that. I love it. Okay.
Well, Pam, tell our listeners who's joining us today because I am excited to hear. I mean, talk about like captivating story.
Oh,
We are
gosh.
in for that for sure today.
Absolutely. So today we have joining us now, he is a journalist, novelist, and writing coach, John DeDakis. John is a former editor on CNN's The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer. During John's 45-year career in journalism, he was a White House correspondent during Ronald Reagan's presidency. John is the author of 6 award-winning mystery suspense thriller novels. Plus, he's a manuscript editor and motivational speaker. John's specialty is helping wannabe writers become published authors. Welcome, John. We are so excited to have you with us today and for you to share your story with our listeners.
Hi, Pam and Natalie. Thanks very much for this opportunity. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, kind of tell us how you, I guess, start with telling us what got you into journalism.
Journalism it was not the first choice. The first choice was to go into law. My dad was a lawyer, and the two of us were going to go into practice together. But then the Vietnam War came along. I was a student at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. They had a draft, if you had a number below 150, you were going to get drafted. Mine was 14. I had a student deferment, so I was cool for a while. Um, but I was that was a tumultuous time. You think this is a divided time? It was even more polarized back then.
Yes.
And after Kent State, Kent State was when the National Guard fired on students
Mm,
and killed four, and every college campus in the country exploded.
mm,
And at this point, I was raised by Nixon Republicans. War is good business. Invest your son.
mhm.
So that was my background. But
Yeah.
when I was in the dorms and the bull sessions, I'd argue the right wing line of my Nixon Republican parents. And when I was at home, I'd argue the left wing line I was hearing at school. And when I was alone, I was confused. And so I volunteered at a campus radio station, covered a riot after Kent State, got tear gassed. And my parents heard their little boy getting tear gassed on the radio, and they encouraged me to switch schools because I'd had it with the campus chaos.
Mhm.
Um, and so I did transfer, but at this point, my grade point average was 1.94. I was that close to getting kicked out of school.
Mhm.
And when I made the transfer, it so happened that Playboy magazine had voted UW-Madison the number one party school in the country, and I had seen it as my main mission in life to be the number one party. I didn't succeed,
Partier. Yes.
partier, but I was so good at it that I lost my student deferment when I transferred schools. So I'm 14 in the draft and getting ready to get sent over to Vietnam. Long story short, I enlisted to avoid the draft because I wasn't really sure that I was a conscientious objector.
Mhm.
So, plot twist, and we all have them, whether it's, in our personal lives or in fiction. And in my case, I got orders to Vietnam, but at the last minute, they were changed to Germany. And I spent 2.5 years at the headquarters of the American Forces Radio and Television Network in Frankfurt, Germany, doing interviews for a special events radio unit. And the first interview I did was with a guy named Alfred Hitchcock. You may have heard of him.
Oh,
And that was a mentoring moment because my boss could have done the interview in his sleep, and he
yeah.
trusted this 23-year-old kid not to screw it up. And what I found was what I was good at and what I loved. And when you put those two things together, you've got purpose and propulsion going forward in your life. So I got out of the Army, went to journalism school at the University of Wisconsin, got a grade point average of 3.5. I'm not brilliant, but that was what launched my journalism career.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Alfred Hitchcock, one of my
Yeah.
ultimate favorite. His movies are
Oh
like
man. Yeah.
favorite. So
Still.
still, and so you were doing the radio at the college, and so that allowed so did they pick you to go to Germany to do the radio show, or was it
No, that was the Army. The Army had something called military journalism, and so I got trained in the Army as a journalist. That was my first, formal training in the business. And then, the American Forces Network is the voice of home. It is, it is radio and television networks all over the world wherever U.S. troops are stationed. It's the voice of home.
wow.
Wow. And the value of that, I can, especially during that time, like those interviews and the topics that you're covering, to bring those to those that are serving, like to bring that segment to those that are serving, I'm sure it was huge, right? I mean, I'm sure during that time, it's what you look forward to, right?
Oh
Like what's
man.
coming on,
Oh,
what's next.
absolutely. Because these are mostly young kids away from home for the first time overseas.
Yeah.
Granted, Germany wasn't a war zone, but they had AFN in Vietnam as well. I mean, Robin Williams, Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
That's the American Forces Network.
Okay. Oh,
That's
that's
amazing. So unlocking that passion, something that you're excited about, and realizing that purpose that you have at that point.
mhm.
What happens when you come home? What does that look like?
Well, I actually had some purpose. And so I got my degree in journalism, got into the business. My first television job was at the NBC affiliate in Madison. And I was there for 10 years. And nowadays, local news, you're there 2 years and then you move on.
Mm,
And so I was at a station where they really were committed to the community.
mm,
Um, I covered the White House when Reagan was president for the last 3 years of his presidency. I went to CNN in Atlanta in 1988 as a writer. Probably the next plot twist was when they made me an editor. And it paid well, but it was tedious.
mhm.
And so I needed a creative outlet. And that's when I started writing fiction because I just needed to scratch that creative itch. But it took 10 years for me to get the agent that I've got. The first novel went through 14 major revisions, and my agent was the 39th agent that I queried. So I tell my writing students, if you take good notes, I'll save you 9 years in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm just gonna, for our listeners that don't know, before the show started, I can see that you don't only just teach that, John, you live that. We were just having some conversation, and you were
You were,
diligently taking notes as we were
yes.
chatting.
Taking
Um,
notes and pumping you for information. I am
Yes.
exactly.
I am voraciously curious, and
Yes.
if I get even a little opportunity, I'll probably turn the tables on you guys.
Oh,
I
great.
love that. I love that. Well, I
Love it.
have to say, before we started, you said something that I am going to carry with me forever because curiosity is something that I think is so
Yeah.
important.
It's huge.
And I speak a lot about curiosity, and I often reference to it as like curiosity of a 5-year-old, that level of we
Oh yeah.
really want to understand the big
Innocent
why.
Oh,
curiosity.
It's
I mean,
innocent. Yeah.
kids have follow-up questions nailed. It's
Yes.
time for bed. Why? Because I said so. Why? And so on.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely. And
They have,
before you started, you said follow the curiosity, and I thought that is a motto for life. Like
There
that
you
is
yes.
go.
huge.
Oh, baby, that's it. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Gosh, if we
So
could all do that. Mm-mm.
I think we can all benefit from that, right? Like that's a big
Absolutely.
piece. Like
Absolutely.
follow the
Yeah.
curiosity
Yeah.
forever.
And
Forever.
then listen, because when you're listening,
Yeah.
you're learning.
Yes.
Absolutely. We could use
Yeah.
a lot of that right now in the
Yes.
world.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're at a point where we can't agree on the facts, but we
Mhm.
can find common human ground.
Yes.
How's the job? How's the family?
Yeah.
How's your health? Great day, isn't it? Those kind of things. We can meet on a common level
Yeah.
and try to break that circuit of having to win the argument.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I love that. Oh my gosh. So,
Okay.
John, you mentioned, was it 39 revisions that you said? Is that
Yeah, no, it went through 14 major revisions, but
14 revisions?
38 queries that got rejected until my agent came along, and we're still
Okay.
together after 20 years and
Oh,
six
wow.
books. Yeah,
That's
Okay.
that,
fabulous. How
that
did you
doesn't
stay
happen all that much.
motivated during that process? Because here
Yes.
you are using writing as a creative outlet to only go through rounds and rounds of revisions. How did you keep yourself inspired to continue with the work?
I don't think I had to really, grit my teeth and try. The
Hmm.
desire was just there.
Hmm.
I didn't have to manufacture the desire. I mean, part of it, the reason that it took so long is that I had a day job and a wife and 3 kids and a dog and a mortgage, and
Yeah.
I've got procrastination nailed. But at the same time, there was a moment where my wife took me aside and said, "Your book is your mistress." And
Oh,
that got my attention because there's the work-life balance that it was a bit lopsided.
yes. So
Yeah.
it's the suspense novels. So what made you go that direction?
That's a good question because I just wanted to get published. I just wanted to write a book. I didn't know there were such things as genres, different
Hmm.
story types.
Hmm.
And I don't think I realized what my genre was until late in the process, maybe the eighth draft. There was a book club that met in our neighborhood in Atlanta, and 20, I write as a woman. That's a whole nother
Okay.
there's a 12-step program for that, I'm sure. Um,
Okay.
but there were 25 women let me sit in on their critique.
Okay.
And that was daunting for a number of reasons, but as I listened to them take it apart, I realized that I had 3 subplots that I didn't need. And so in the rewrite, I was able to take those particular story strands out, and the rewrite the book went from a 150,000 word mishmash, because that's sort of what the
Yes.
genre was, to a 75,000 word mystery suspense novel. Who knew?
Mm.
That's
Okay.
how I found my genre.
Wow,
Okay.
that's awesome. And were there other books built into some of the work that you extracted, part of the mishmash that was in there?
I think so. I mean, it's been a long time, but none of that really dies, because
Hmm.
I mean, I had no intention of writing any more books. I just wanted to get that first one published. But then the more you write, the more you think, oh, well, this could happen and that could happen, and a lot of times I'm finding that first-time writers feel that they've got to cram everything into that book. You
Hmm.
don't.
Yeah.
Tell that one story and then go on, because agents love it when you've got, more ideas and more books in the pipeline.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What is your process for writing? Do you?
Procrastination. But you know what? Procrastination isn't really wasted time, because if you're thinking about your book,
Yes.
that's writing.
Yeah.
Rumination is also writing.
Hmm.
And there does come a time when you've got to, put pen to paper or finger to keyboard. But
Yes.
the process for me, and it's evolved, but what works for me now is I have to write in the morning. If I wait until, too late, I don't sleep well, because the book is still churning around in me.
Hmm.
So I'm up. Of course, I did overnights at CNN for, 25 years, and so that my body was bludgeoned into submission. So I only need 5 hours of sleep.
Oh my
So
gosh.
so today I was up at 2:30 in the morning. And that's fine. I mean, my wife goes, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Yeah, because why should I toss and turn if I've got, something to do?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
The
Yeah,
wheels are still
absolutely.
spinning.
I
Yeah.
think sleep is overrated.
Yeah. I I beg to differ. I really value sleep.
Okay, fine.
But I've
Everybody's different.
I'm like you,
exactly,
John. I
I've
get
never been programmed
lucky.
to live on
Oh,
5 hours of sleep. So I get that piece of it. And again, it was, just a season of life that you were in, and getting that program, and your body said, we can function like this. Let's do it.
There you
hmm.
go. There you go. Listen to your
Absolutely.
body. Listen to your body.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about your time with CNN and kind of your professional journey, because while you're making the advancements on the professional side, you kind of alluded to this. You also have life that's happening, like your personal
Yeah.
life in addition to your career. So, talk to us a little bit about your professional world, and then we'll come back and kind of bring everything back in.
Okay, well, the journalism part actually was in two parts. The first part was reporting, first
Mhm.
as a radio reporter, then as a television reporter. Um, I don't talk about this a whole lot, but I did a stint for 5 years at the Christian Broadcasting Network. My
Mm.
boss was Pat Robertson,
Oh,
and this was
wow.
at a time when he was running for president. Here I am, White House correspondent, and my boss is running for president. It was a very delicate time, because, my job was to play it straight, not to be in the Robertson for president campaign.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of the people I was around felt that that was my job. No,
Hmm.
it wasn't.
Hmm.
And one of the takeaways, I did a piece. We followed Press Secretary Larry Speaks around for a day, and the piece was on the White House press corps versus the president. And the takeaway for me was that by definition, it's an adversarial relationship, no matter who's in office, what party,
Yeah.
because it was the press secretary's job to make Reagan and his policies look perfect.
Yeah.
It's our job as reporters to find out what's really going on.
Hmm.
And so that sets up a friction and confrontation.
Yeah.
And no president, no matter what party they're in, likes their press coverage all that much.
Hmm.
And I discovered that it's a firing offense at any reputable news organization to make things up. And so that lesson is taken into all my novels. All my novels have a journalism backdrop. And as it's turned out, that was fortuitous, because journalism has become incredibly controversial. Ever hear of fake news? My fifth novel, Fake, I wrote that when Trump was elected, because I was troubled by his comment that journalists are enemies of the American people. They're not.
Mm.
And so what I did is I put my protagonist, a White House correspondent, in a situation where we, the reader, know that what's being told about her that's national news is a lie. It's not true.
Mm.
But there are consequences when lies are told, and that's what I tried to catch in Fake.
Yeah.
So that was, that was the first part of the professional career, and then the second part was, in a sense, behind the scenes at CNN in Atlanta, and 17 years in Atlanta, 7 years in DC, and in television news. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in
Mhm.
order. It's amazing that anything gets on the air because of all the hoops you have to jump through. So, that was a great experience as well. I mean, I was there, the night of the Gulf War when CNN became a household name.
Wow.
Yeah.
And working for Wolf. Wolf is a journalist's journalist. He doesn't vote, as far as I know. He cares more about accuracy. When we were together, I still don't know what his politics are. It's just
Mhm.
he's plays it straight, and
Wow.
that's the way we approached it.
Love that. Okay.
That's great insight from behind the
Yeah.
scenes, right? Because we,
Yes.
uh, the public, we only get the finished product, right? It's just
Mhm.
we get what we get, and if there's a correction or an edit, then we see that as well. But all the work that goes in it behind the scenes is a tremendous lift as well.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the problem with journalism now is that we're siloed. People gravitate toward whatever
Yes.
reinforces their opinion. There was a woman I met at a conference and she shook her finger at me and she said, "You're nothing but fake news." And I said, "Well, where do you get your news?" She said, "Breitbart." And my jaw dropped because they make it up. And before I could say anything, she said, "Well, I have to have my opinion reinforced." And I said,
So she just
"Actually,
confirmed
Thank you.
it.
I said, actually,
Confirming.
you have to have it informed. Get the
Wow.
facts and then go where you want."
You should go ahead and send your resume over there, ma'am. I feel like you would be a great asset. That's right.
Yeah.
Like you too can
Wow.
contribute.
Yeah.
Well, and John, the other thing is that it's so fast, right? The pace of
Yeah.
reporting in today's day and age,
Mhm.
it's not necessarily the accuracy that you talk about, right? Like I think when you look at journalism from a historical context to now, it's like a race against the not even the clock, it's the race
Be
against
the
your competition.
first. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
every second is a deadline.
Yes.
Yes.
And because of the internet and digital abilities,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the phrase is, a lie can go around the world before the truth can get on its shoes.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's a good phrase.
wow.
Wow. Scary.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
scary. Wow.
So while you're building this fabulous and exciting professional life,
Hmm.
you're also exuding resiliency in your personal life, going through life was as I like to say, life was lifing. Right? Like
Yeah.
life is going to
It's a
happen
great
around
line.
us, regardless of
Yeah.
if we
Yep.
want it to or
Wanted
not.
to or not.
Yep. Right.
Talk to us a little bit about your journey because you experienced some things that I think would take a lot of people off course.
Yeah.
That's true, and it actually got poured into my writing as well. When I was 9 years old, I witnessed a car train collision that killed three people,
Wow.
and and one of the people who that was killed was a kid my age, and so you kind of face your mortality at a pretty young age.
Yeah.
And then my sister took her life in 1980, carbon monoxide poisoning. I was on the scene that day. And so 15 years later, I started to write novels, and the first chapter is brings together those two events, the car train collision and my sister's death. And the very first chapter is ripped from reality. I mean, I didn't have to make much up at all. And
Hmm.
I discovered that it was cathartic. It was, you write what you know, and I encourage my writing students to move toward the pain and mine it. We all have grief and loss, and it doesn't require you to have lost a loved one. You can lose a pet, a job, a loved one, your health, your innocence. Any one of those things can produce profound feelings of loss.
Hmm.
And yet when you're going through it, you feel like no one understands. You feel isolated. And yet, as a writer, being able to articulate it and actually put it into the lives of your characters does something. It helps other people understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we read books to live life vicariously through the characters and get to know
Yes.
people we otherwise might not know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I even realized that for a number of years because by the time my third book came along, my youngest son went missing. 22 years old, found dead in my car, a block and a half from our house in DC, dead of an accidental heroin overdose.
Mm-hmm.
And that time I went through grief counseling for like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And when I emerged, I wrote my fourth novel, Bullet in the Chamber, which once again takes the collateral damage surrounding the time when he was missing, and I poured it in as a subplot in my protagonist's life. Again, very therapeutic. And it's now 20 years later, and I look back and I see all that time I was working stuff out as I was writing.
Yeah. You were working it out through your writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a guest a long time ago. She was a professor and she taught writing,
Mhm.
and she did the same thing. She had lost a live-in boyfriend to suicide, and
Mm,
she used writing for like therapeutic. And
yeah.
it
Yeah.
is really healing when you share those stories that are deeply personal.
Right.
Um, and it comes across in the pages, and people can feel it.
Yeah. 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 Yep, it really helps a lot to be able to do that and to find that other people are really helped. And so now I'm at a point where I'm expanding and I'm becoming a motivational speaker for corporations that have wellness programs, veterans groups that are dealing with PTSD, hospice organizations to help people who are struggling with grief to use writing as a way to heal. And this is especially, I think, valuable in the corporate world because, unresolved grief can cause low morale, absenteeism, high rates of turnover, and obviously low productivity. So, I think I'm able at this point to provide some sort of hope, I guess you could
Mhm.
say,
Oh,
and
incredible.
resilience.
Thank you for joining us today on the Reignite Resilience podcast. We hope you had some aha moments and learned a few new real-life ideas to fuel the flames of passion. Please subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like or download your favorite episodes, and of course, share with your friends and family. We look forward to seeing you again next time on Reignite Resilience.